Well, hey now, folks. How's it going? John Duffin here, Duffin Media and Duffin Coaching. Got all dolled up for you today. How's that, right? Welcome to another episode of Optimize Your Communications by Leveraging Your Voice. This is the 2023 November edition. Thrilled to have everybody here. Thrilled to have you joining me. Look, no ground rules, but if you're watching on LinkedIn Live, first off, welcome. Thank you. If you're watching on Facebook Live, again, great to have you. Go grab a friend, show up. We're right here. I will be able to see your comments with Facebook and LinkedIn. If you're watching on YouTube Live, first off, that's great. Like, pound that subscribe and notifications buttons. But I don't know that I see your comments. So if you're here and if you're live, great. Drop a note in the comments. I will see you. I will hear you. And best of all, I get to respond to you. But for today, here's what we're going to get to do. We get to deliver by optimizing your communications, by leveraging your voice. I deliver 3 of my top tips to help you speak true, authentically in business. Heck, in life too. We focus on business here for this blitz. But the fact of the matter is, hey, we're ready for you in any which way. So for today, what we wanted to be able to do, let's get right to it, okay? What I'm looking at as well is the following. The topic, feedback. Have you ever been to a concert? Have you ever heard someone speak where the mic gets weird? That ain't the feedback I'm talking about. That just happened to be the cool picture that I found. So anyway, but today's topic is feedback. You give it, you get it, you seek it, you try to hide from it. With feedback, it's happening all day, every day. The takeaway is it's not just what you say, it's how you say it. Your voice matters in this case. Your voice matters. In this day and age of texting and written feedback and emailing and docu-signing, I'm not telling anybody to change their strategies in business, but I got to tell you, if you want the feedback to work, meaning you're seeking improvement, agreement, enhanced performance, collective, happiness, right? You want your individual or team or whoever you're speaking with to be able to feel good about the feedback. Because let me ask you, have you ever gotten feedback? Have you ever gotten feedback today? Has it ever been distracting to you? Taken the wrong way? Well, we're going to give you 3 examples today as to how to avoid it. We talk about eliminating distractions because obviously we all have a job to do. If I was asking for feedback, typically it's because I want it. But I'll share with you, those of you that are here live, and again, thank you. I greatly appreciate that. If you're here live, and if you know me, you may or may not know, I don't know that I have the thickest skin in the world. Don't talk about my build. But I don't know that I have the thickest skin. So because of that, it's one of these things where it's like, okay, tell me what you think. And in my mind, what I'm seeking is, don't hurt me. Tell me I'm pretty. Tell me I'm funny. Tell me I'm the coolest. Tell me I'm the best. No, hit me with your best shot. And it's like, I don't know that I always really want that, right? So I'm speaking today to those that seek the feedback, but I'm also really today speaking to those that give the feedback. All right. So today for me, the 3 top tips have really to do with how to deliver feedback, because you really do have a little bit more control in the situation. Okay. So that's where I wanted to head. And why waste time? Let's go to our first tip of the day. All right. Give it verbally. Use your voice. Okay. number one. Again, in this day and age, anybody here that is leading or managing a team, well, I have, and I've done so. I've led teams, I've managed teams, whether it was direct reports, indirect reports, colleagues, different departments. The fact of the matter is that it was speaking with and looking and seeking for a collaborative, cooperative environment where we would optimize our results, generate revenue, satisfy clients, increase sales, hit the numbers. Okay, that's the side of the equation I typically come from. So here's the first example that I'm going to give you as to why your voice matters. So typically the format: 3 stories, 3 tips, 3 solutions. So keep in mind, when you're delivering feedback, your voice matters, but give it verbally. Emailing is swell and cold and tough. Of course, in corporate worlds, you have to have documentation. I'm not saying don't do it, but put your voice in it. However, put your voice in it that demonstrates that you care, that you're fully in. Okay. Tip number 1, as I talk about here right now, the goal of every single conversation or meeting should be 100% attention to the matter. Complete clarity is the goal. You're heard, understood, and that includes all of it, not just the words, your intentions. Okay. So here's the example. I remember giving a colleague feedback, and it was a busy day. That's all I can say. It was a busy day, and there's a lot going on, and people are knocking on the door, and pinging and what have you. And I can remember the person that I was speaking with, and I'm a big fan of this person, by the way, literally says to me, "I hate the tone of your voice. You sound so condescending." I died. I absolutely died and melted. Well, not literally, but the fact is, it just crushed me. And because I was such a big fan of this person, and I wasn't getting it. So why? Because I had a million other things on my mind. The fact of the matter is, and this is going to sound really self-serving, and I'll risk it. Oh, John, you've got a really good voice. You got a really powerful voice, and blah, blah, blah. And I get that, and I respect it. However, you got to be careful when you're speaking, because if you don't sound true to the matter at hand, lip service, giving yeah, but I need you to do this and I need you to do that. For me, you know what my challenge is? And everybody's different, right? In terms of the way they speak. Here's my challenge. I've been told this because I also do voice narration and host podcasts and all that stuff. I've been coached by people that are good with voices that have said to me on occasion, "John, you sound very announcery. Dial it back." And I'd be like, "Well, I'm just talking," right? But I was just talking. But if I don't catch myself, I can sound a little announcery, which sounds a little like I'm telling you what to do. Anybody out there, live or on replay, who likes to be told what to do? Nobody, really. Nobody. And if I'm speaking to you as if I need you to emphasize more time on this event and blah, blah, blah. And then this is what she said. "I don't like your tone." Gets up and storms out. So why do I bring that up? Not to make myself feel bad again, but the tip. There's a great chance I wasn't speaking 100% directly to that person. What's the sign? Folks, anybody who is speaking has a good enough voice. None of this has to do with improving your pitch or everybody's voice is good enough, right? But everybody's voice can also be bad enough too. So with that being said, what do you do? The tip is really lock in to not just the matter at hand, but the person at hand or the group, right? delivering constructive feedback. And I'm going to here pro tip. When somebody says, don't worry, don't hold back, let me have it. Here's a suggestion. Don't. Do not. Why? They're saying all of that, but I'm going to go back to my two friends here. This is what's going on in their mind, right? So, have you ever heard anybody use the expression, hey, I'm just being honest? Have you ever liked it? Okay, so feedback, right? The way that you speak. Yes, the words matter. The content matters. None of this replaces taking the time to ask really good questions, give really specific examples. I came from a corporation and I love this, which is there should never be surprises in feedback. Never. Everything should be a continual loop of communications. However, you know what the surprise is? When it sounds like either you're not in it or you're telling somebody what to do. Nobody wants you to hit them with their best shot. I don't care what they say. So tip number one, and it's an easy one as well, to be 100% all in the conversation. When I'm speaking, like I'm speaking to you today, the fact of the matter is I can envision who you are. I'm right there with you. This works on Zoom. This works in person. That's your first. Find, again, that compassionate space. Of course, speak business, right? But the fact of the matter is speak to the person. Always. Never talk at them. So that's your first. So tip number two. Tip number two, again, be fully in the conversation. Zero distractions. Your voice matters. It sure does. So the zero distractions part. I've got to get, has anyone worked where they've had to give a series of feedback? Say, for instance, this sounds a little more formal, right? You have to give a series of evaluations, performance evaluations, and you think, you know how I'm going to do this? I'm going to bang them all out in the same day. 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. I'm going to make a suggestion. Don't. You don't want to sound as if you were a slow rolling train. You want, again, you're looking for either agreement, improvement, or some sort of collective body of teamwork so that you get what you want. If you want to give feedback and you want somebody to either improve, toe the line, focus on other matters, prioritize, whatever the case may be, it can't sound like you're delivering lip service. Blah, 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 blah. Have you ever had someone literally read feedback out loud to you? Anyone? I did. Here's an example. One of my favorite bosses of all time. I won't name this person because I'm a massive fan of this person. However, on this specific day, it was the way that feedback was given. This was formal feedback, right? So, but they wanted to make it feel loose and easy. So they took you out to breakfast or lunch. Folks, I'm going to make a suggestion. This is from a guy over 25 years in corporate. Taking someone out to lunch would be the equivalent of taking someone out to dinner to break up with them. They don't want it. I don't care that I'm in a fancy restaurant. Now you're going to tell me, blah, 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 and read an evaluation out loud to me, which is what they did. Literally read the evaluation. And by the way, it was a pretty good one. I had just started with the company. We're at somewhere, I don't know. I think it was Olive Garden. So maybe that was the first issue. I actually happen to like Olive Garden. Any Olive Garden fans? Well, I am. But anyway, the fact is, they're reading it to me as they're giving their order to the server, and then they come back and they're reading again. Look, all of the distractions are brutal. So whether you're giving a series of feedback out loud or whether you are checking your phone, don't. You're coming from a place of contribution. You're certainly coming from a place of compassion, especially if you are like you want something. You absolutely want something. You want somebody to either get better, you want somebody to know how much you appreciate them. It could be anything or anywhere in the middle. But again, the focus is all on them. They will hear that in your voice. And speaking of the voice, do not read. You can read the feedback at certain points. You want to get it exactly right. I get it. I mean, it's corporate sometimes and it's HR related. I get it. But you really want to speak to somebody. And again, keep in mind the tone and speed of your voice. Racing through something to try to get through it doesn't always work. Well, let's just get through this. And then this way we'll have a nice lunch. Blah, blah, blah. I remember that day. For me, here's how I received the feedback. Terribly. Doesn't make me a good person. Doesn't make me right. All I'm saying was they were trying to demonstrate to me how much they valued me as a relatively new employee. What did I come out of it with? Oh, I hate Olive Garden. I hated that. And I don't feel appreciated. So watch the speed of which you're delivering information. Do not read things out loud. You can amplify what you're trying to say by the exact terms of what you wrote, but your voice always matters. If you're trying to convey a difficult message, you can still deliver it with some degree of compassion. You can sound like it matters. If you're delivering a good bit of feedback, well, then your voice should convey that. Speak into the specificity of what's going on. I don't mean to make that sound too heavy, but again, reading stuff out loud doesn't work. Sandra Lee, rock star testimony. Oh my God. Check out, and again, follow Sandra Lee on social media. You got it. And thank you for showing up for me and coming live today. I really appreciate that. So the fact of the matter is, didn't mean to single you out like that, Sandra. I'm just glad to see you. And Sandra had just shown up in Philadelphia last week, and that was great. So that's the second tip. Now, I want to give a little less formal of a tip. This actually will head in two directions, right? So tip number 3 actually heads in two different directions. So we're going to get a bonus tip. I had a great time too, by the way. I loved it. Loved your energy. Loved the face-to-face. Nothing better. Speaking of face-to-face, here's where your third feedback tip comes from, right? Are you speaking to an audience? Has anyone spoken to a live audience before? 2 people or 5,000 people? Anyone? I have. Yep, I got you. Yep, you too. Of course, of course. It's not a given, but I want to remind anybody that's watching today on any of the platforms, have you spoken to an audience before? The answer is a lot of people you have. If you're in sales and you're speaking to a group of clients or potential clients in an advertising agency or in a boardroom or whatever the case may be, you're speaking to a live audience. If you are a public speaker, you are, of course, speaking to a live audience. As you are going, general question, do you seek and value feedback as you are speaking? My answer, you should. You always should. You should be seeking feedback, seeking, not delivering, seeking, because feedback is always a two-way conversation. That's what makes it sound great. Good. How do you solicit feedback? So here's a standard. Don't know that I always love this, but here's the ever popular. Does anybody have any questions? That's not feedback. They're placeholders for you, not really for them, right? Now, if you're lucky, the advertiser or the client or the audience or whatever may raise their hand. Oh, hey, can you go over, or would you repeat, or give me an example of? That's cool. And it's really not feedback. This is way more subtle, but it's really important. So I'm going to give an example of what happened to me when I was a young adult and how that has carried me for decades. Here's what happened, and here I'll gladly explain how it helped me. But here's how it went. So rather than just asking the ever, do you have any questions, which doesn't really include somebody, the tip, watch their reactions. Because remember, you're always speaking to someone. You're not speaking at them. So groups of 2 or more, this applies to. Obviously, a one-on-one, you're doing it. But for groups of 2 or more, do not get lost where you're speaking to, and I'm putting my hands up intentionally, a sea of whatever. Even 2 people, you can get lost because you don't know where to focus. So you're just kind of like, and here and there. This is why it's really important to lean in when you're speaking. I don't mean literally. What I mean is figuratively. Lean in and talk to specific people and watch the signs. Here was the example. In my young 20s, the first time I ever participated in a wedding. My cousin asked me to be in her wedding, right? Okay, great. Read. That's what she wanted me to do. Okay, cool. Well, I'd never done it before. And there was a bunch of people. It was back in the day when people were like 400 people were coming to weddings. A lot, right? So this big old church, and I'm going to speak. And I remember, I don't know why I came up with this, but I did. I remember it was weird to me, and I was getting a little bit of nerves. So I go to my other cousin, and I love her, Diane. And I say to Diane, I'm going to look at you in the audience. And if I am off, if I'm too loud, which I can be, give me a signal. If I'm too quiet and whispery and you can't hear me, give me a signal, right? So she's like, okay. So every so often I would look to her, and she kept her hand literally by her chest, so it wasn't looking crazy or distracting. So I've invented the term, and I call it water the plants. Water the plants. If you're able, either find people in the room that will give you the honest feedback during. I'm going to give you like some facial examples, right? Guide me as to what you think they are or what they could be. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Watch the signs. Watch the signs, their feedback. You are not putting someone on the spot by noticing it. Now, sometimes this is intuitive and you have to guess. You can literally say to somebody, too loud, or would you like me to repeat that? Or did I say it too quickly? I just want to make sure you're allowed to do that because you don't want to just keep going. Okay, you're speaking in front of an audience and you're mumbling. A lot of people will just check out. So you are seeking the feedback. So you're finding either people that you know that you could trust. Like I said, I literally actively sought my cousin Diane. If you're pitching clients, if you're speaking in front of a group of people and it's your first time, or for this audience, find the friendly faces. Find the ones that are smiling and maybe nodding along because they will guide you appropriately, right? Well, that's feedback. That's feedback during, because you don't want to waste an opportunity when you're in front of people, okay? You don't. You want to be able to optimize these circumstances. You don't get them every day. Even if you're a public speaker and it's what you do for a living, these circumstances matter. It matters to the people that are paying you, and it matters to you for future opportunities. So seek the informal feedback. And if somebody is looking weird or uncomfortable, don't challenge them. Don't put them on the spot. But it's simply take some guesses. Would you like me to repeat that? Would you like me to go a little more slowly, a little bit more loud? Somebody is going to respond. It makes you human, right? Because again, you're speaking to somebody, not at somebody. 2 or more, it works like a charm. I was literally able to land the plane at that reading decades ago because I watched somebody guide me like an air traffic controller. That's why I use the plane analogy. But here's the other thing in terms of what could you do? Seek it. Don't fear an adverse reaction. Don't fear it. Don't try to push or just plow through or race through or ignore it. You don't have to, again, put somebody on the spot. Just bring it to light. And that's all I'm saying, because ultimately you want to land the plane for that audience, and that will get you to the finish line. Okay. Now, remember I said it was going to go in two directions? Here's the other, and this is the informal feedback. How many times a day have you been asked, so what do you think? That's asking for feedback. I literally have lately noticed over the last even couple of days, I've been asked that sort of, what do you think? Give me some feedback. Really want to know, at least a dozen times. And that's just off the top of my head. Not because I'm so popular, not because I'm all that, because people do it, because they do want to know. Again, they don't necessarily want that, hey, I'm just being honest, right? By the way, anytime I hear, hey, I'm just being honest, I recoil because I assume something bad or negative or borderline inappropriate is coming, right? So I tense up. When you ask somebody, hey, what do you think? Let me give you an example of a great scenario that happened for me. And I learned from this. One of my favorite leaders, his name is Buff Parham. If he's anywhere near watching this, I'm a massive fan of Buff Parham. Speaking of massive fans, Chris, yo, thank you for showing up. No, but Laurie, a lot of people have said that. But you're the kindest, sweetest, and I love from the Champions group. From Coach Dana Cavalier, I've had the chance to know Chris, and I'm such a fan. Thanks for showing up for me today, man. That's really, really kind and really cool. And I'm very grateful for that. But here's what I'm going to say. I remember I had a difficult work moment, had to speak to somebody about something. And the details of that aren't all that relevant. But then I remember I'm bringing up Buff Parham. And so we are at another, we'll say, client opportunity. And so this is away from the immediate situation. And Buff's one of the coolest, nicest, most intelligent Stanford guy. So it's not like he's lacking in the brains department, has a ton of experience, and he's a classic, really nice person. And he has a really commanding voice. So by the way, I would actually brace sometimes, not because his voice was bad, his voice was great, but sometimes commanding voices sound, I don't know, what would you say? Mean? Scary? They're not bad. So I remember all timidly asking, so do you think I handled that situation okay? So I'm a lot like these two. And bracing for a terrible answer. Well, I asked the question, so you're going to get feedback, right? You put it out there actively. So here's the answer from Buff, and I quote, no, I don't think you handled it in that situation. Here's what you could have done. As he spoke for about, I don't think it took 20 seconds to hear the direct, compassionate, completely attentive way that he spoke to me. So all of a sudden now, Buff doesn't sound big and commanding and scary. He's none of those things, by the way. He's tall, but he's none of those things. But he is commanding in a great way. He's commanding in that you want to do right by him. He's commanding in the sense that you want to be on his team, because you know he's going to take you to a great place, and he always did. But that specific day at an offsite where it was off the cuff and he just spoke, I could hear in his voice the compassion. I could hear the kindness. I could hear the directness in the tone and the volume. And why I'm saying that is I didn't get positive feedback at all. So rather than Olive Garden, where I'm all huffy because you didn't tell me exactly what I wanted to hear and the way that I wanted to hear it, I am enthralled. So this is my message to you. When you speak all in, when you speak in a way that brings you to the place where you're completely there, your voice will work with you. I reference a lot of people. Dave Walsh, the company's called The True Tell. Dave Walsh is one of those people that speaks, and he coaches businesses like I do and individuals. He talks about your voice being the last pass of information. So all of your content, it matters. All of the documentation, it matters. But I'm telling you, your voice really matters. So what I'm saying is a quick recap for today, the top tips of today. Again, remember, the goal of every conversation, formal, informal, groups, audiences, one-on-one, should be 100% attention. Take all the steps that you need to make sure that you are 100% focused and you're fully in on that conversation. Zero distractions. Put the phone away. You heard a couple of pings on my computer. Put them away. Silence them because your voice matters. Single tasks win the day. 100% to the matter at hand. When you allow that to happen, your voice will work with you. But consciously, you want to make certain that if you're delivering feedback, you want to make certain that you're delivering with some degree of directness, compassion, kindness, and intention. That's more than 3 tips. Because people will respond in kind. You sound rushed, hurried, disinterested, disconnected. They'll hear it and they'll feel it. So those are my feedback top tips for the day. All right. And I'm grateful to all of you. Now, here's an ask. Number 1, any questions, any feedback that you want to give me? Be kind, be kind. All right, thank you. But if someone asks for feedback, of course, give it, but take the time. You're awesome. It rocks. You rock. Sounds disingenuous without detail. Give a little bit of detail and 100% of you in that conversation. And then you'll be able to get the teamwork, the galvanization, the overall improvement, the audience to give you that standing O that you worked so hard to get. Now, speaking of feedback, here's an opportunity. I'm going to give you an opportunity here. And there is a contest that we got rolling until this Friday. But here's the deal. I'm going to make this suggestion. I give feedback all the time. I have the great pleasure of, I have helped some people, just happened again last night, where I've helped some people literally get their podcast rolling. First and foremost, I just typed in the comments my email address, jd@duffinmedia.com, jd@duffinmedia.com. I want you, if you are interested, I will literally get you up and running. That includes some of the tech stuff. That includes the not just motivation, but very specific feedback. What we just accomplished is getting a podcast going, and I mean done. Public, recorded, published, done. So knowing that, I can help you. You want to get something rolling, you want to improve your social media, you want to get it done, that's where I can help. Literally, I sat and drove the car for these people. Help them with the buttons, do this. I tend to work, you're watching me today on StreamYard, a great live stream recording platform. I love it because I believe once you get to know it, it's easy. So you send me the email, jd@duffinmedia.com. In the subject, it is the word podcast. Again, subject matter podcast. You want to get up and rolling? I'll help you get done. typically the value of me being there to literally hold your hand and go through, give you the directions to get your first episode recorded and done, and then feedback on that specific episode or content, real feedback. Again, 100% in feedback. For that, because it's up to 1 hour of my time. That's $500. So $500 that gets you up and rolling. One person will win that. And I'm excited for that. So one person gets to win. It's a $500 value. That's complete soup to nuts. I get you rolling. I get you done. You hello, John. You subscribe to StreamYard or whatever platform, Riverside or Zoom or whatever. You subscribe. That's not on me. And then I will walk you through the process. We'll go on camera. We'll get it done. You'll get published. And I'm telling you, the gratitude of the people that I've been able to help so far is proof to me that this is a service that I'm excited and happy to deliver. So if you want that opportunity for yourself, send me the email, jd@duffinmedia.com. Type podcast in the subject matter. And then what happens when you do? Well, then I will help one lucky winner. And anyone else afterwards, you know where to find me. So I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. I am getting to come back tomorrow. I'm privileged and I'm excited for that. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for your feedback. It means a ton to me. Have a fantastic day, all. Much love. Be well. Bye.